me from the start. By the way you stared, the way you wrote upon me, yeah. Man, I felt your energy. Wasn't used to being loved and treated differently, yeah. But something went wrong, the signals got crossed, and now we're on completely different pages. Let's go where we were, where no one gets hurt. Baby, keep it right there, don't you stress the flow. You're trying to pick the pace up, we should take it slow. Baby, keep your focus, don't you make me change my mind. If you love me, baby, don't you switch up the vibe. Baby, don't you, baby, don't you, baby, don't you switch up the vibe. Baby, don't you, baby, don't you, baby, don't you switch up the vibe. Boy, you take me on a trip, always up and down and back and forth in merry-go-round. I just wanna get it right, but when you go left, I'm stuck here feeling left behind. Cause something went wrong, the signals got crossed, and now we're going different directions. Let's go where we were, when no one gets hurt. Baby, keep it right there, don't you stress the flow. You're trying to pick the pace up, we should take it slow. Baby, keep your focus, don't you make me change my mind. If you love me, baby, don't you switch up the vibe. Baby, don't you, baby, don't you, baby, don't you switch up the vibe. Baby, don't you, baby, don't you, baby, don't you switch up the vibe. If you love me just like you say you do, don't kill the good vibes. If you kill them, you're gonna kill us too. Baby, keep it right there, don't you stress the flow. You're trying to pick the pace up, we should take it slow. Baby, keep your focus, don't you make me change my mind. If you love me, baby, don't you switch up the vibe. Baby, don't you, baby, don't you, baby, don't you switch up the vibe. Baby, don't you, baby, don't you, baby, don't you switch up the vibe.
The ever evolving, the ever evolving, the ever evolving. It's your podcast. The ever evolving, the ever evolving, the ever evolving. It's your podcast.
I'm over here tripping. Hey y'all. Y'all listen. This is the first show this season, okay? That is taking me through. You can tell how I look. Listen, I'm barely here, but we're here for episode. What is this? This is episode 5, I believe. Episode 6, I believe. One of those of season 5. I'm super excited to be before y'all again. Again, it's been a crazy day. Don't know how your day has been, but mine has been really crazy. But I'm excited because we are here and I have an amazing guest with me, Miss Tanya Ruiz of Notorious Moms, the podcast. This is episode 6. Okay, I'm looking at my notes now. Episode 6. She's joining me for an amazing conversation. We're going to talk about balancing and motherhood and self-care and all of those things. As you're coming on, please make sure you share this live broadcast. Also, if you're watching the replay, you can still share. You can still share it with somebody. Share the link and let someone know about the Ever Evolving podcast and that season 5 is live. This is the last episode of October, the last episode of the month. So I am looking forward to going out with a bang. Okay. Let me make sure I have shared on all of the places. I'm looking for YouTube. I don't see YouTube. So let me see what's going on there and make sure that we are live in all of the places because I'm not seeing the live broadcast. So usually I wouldn't do this, but I want to make sure that we are live in all of the places that we are supposed to be live in. uh, Okay. All right. I think we're good. All right. So I'm going to bring my lovely, beautiful guest on and allow her to introduce herself. Hey, Miss
Hi.
Tanya.
Hello, Angela. How are you?
Listen, I'm here, huh?
I know it's been a rough one, but we're here.
We
Thank you
here.
so much for
Listen, y'all hear that?
having
We
me
here. We
on.
here. How you say it? We
Yes,
here?
we here.
We here. Is it Jersey? You from Jersey, right?
New York. I'm from
New York.
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. Come on, Brooklyn, stand up.
Yes,
Yes, big up to Brooklyn.
from
All right.
East New York.
Yeah, I'm excited to have this conversation with you. One thing that I love about
Likewise.
you is that even in our just initial conversation, me and you really gelled and we were able to have just an authentic conversation. And I love those kind of people where it's not forced, it's minimal effort, and they just get you. You know what I'm saying? The vibes just
Yes.
be like,
Yeah, it's all about the vibe.
yeah,
All
and
about
you're
the vibe.
definitely one of those people. And so I'm excited to have you here for episode 6. So before we jump into this amazing conversation, introduce yourself and let the people know who you are and what it is that you do.
So, I'm Tanya. I am the host and founder of Notorious Mom, the podcast. That kind of happened during quarantine, which I
Hmm.
think a lot of people's podcasts kind of did.
Yeah.
Because we had time to sit and time
Hmm.
to think and time to plan. I'm a mother of two amazing children, 16 years apart. I almost have a 2-year old. Yes.
Almost. I'm gonna pray.
Almost a 2-year old, but we at the terrible twos already. So, and that's pretty much it. I'm just like a regular schmegula girl, just trying to make it in this life. So
Yeah, and
we gonna
you're
go with
doing a
that.
good job. You're doing a good job. You doing a good job, sis. You doing a good job. You're doing
Thank
an
you.
amazing job. I mean, first of all, just to have two kids 16 years apart, okay? Because I could never, okay? But you're doing an amazing job to be able to balance all of it. So let's jump into it. The balancing act that us as mothers and entrepreneurs do is one that is not easy. And
That's
one of the
correct.
reasons why this conversation is so important to me because I have struggled with this. I've struggled with the mommy guilt. I've struggled with finding myself as a woman after motherhood. And I recently have seen this being a reoccurring conversation on social media and just throughout society. Recently, I don't know the young lady's name, but my prayers go out to her and her family. I prayed for her as soon as I saw the post, who committed suicide because as a mother, she said, I can't. I'm trying to raise these kids by myself. She had two beautiful boys and she was like, I'm trying to raise these two kids on my own. I'm struggling with depression. She had a business, just going through her page, I was able to see her as a business owner. And everybody had something to say, but I could definitely understand how she felt hopeless in that moment because it's very hard to balance all of it. Talk about that.
Yeah. So besides, being a mom, I'm a wife. I have a 9 to 5 job and I'm trying to be an entrepreneur. So at times it is very, very difficult to kind of find that good balance. One thing I can say is that I have a very, very good support system. My family and my friends are very active and just available for me. So it's a very big help. They say it takes a village.
Mhm.
When you have children, everyone that's involved, everyone puts they put their 2 foot forward, and it's amazing to have that. Some people don't have that, unfortunately. So it
Yeah,
makes it very, very difficult. And
yeah,
sometimes you just have to prioritize. You have to kind of prioritize a bit, which that could be hard too.
it can because sometimes it's difficult to know what's most important. Like there are times where I have felt like, okay, if I give all over here to the podcast or I give all of this over to Ever Evolving Women, I can't be over here, like I need to be or be as present as I need to be, for my daughter. If I give her all of, what she needs, and yes, I'm going to do that because that's the priority, right?
Right.
I may not have an episode this week, so the balancing
Right.
act is one where you, like you said, you really have to learn. And I've learned that everything ain't important. Everything is not important. Everything is not urgent. I'm learning still how to say no to people, places, and things. I
Yes.
can't be everything to everybody. And as the
Right.
strong friend or the go to friend, I've had to learn how to say no. And I think that's the biggest thing for women, but mothers as well, is learning how to say no. I
Right.
think it starts there.
Right. And setting those boundaries.
Yeah.
Especially if you are the go-to person and you are the problem solver and you are the fixer. It's hard to say no, and
It's
sometimes you
hard.
have to set those boundaries and just let people know, like, hey, I can't do this right now, and that's totally okay.
It's okay. It's okay. It's
It is.
okay. What they say, self care isn't selfish, right? We look at self
Yes.
care from a standpoint of like, vacations, that is self care, and facials and all these different things that are definitely self care, right? But self care, I've learned, and I keep telling people this, for me, self care continues to evolve for me. So, like last night, self care was catching up on Insecure, eating my favorite
Yes.
meal, having me some ice cream, and being left
Yes.
alone. That was self care
Hmm.
for me last night.
Yep.
This weekend, it may be self care, getting my nails and my toes done. Sometimes self care is prayer. Sometimes self care is just nothing. Just leave me
Yeah.
alone. Everybody be quiet. I
Yeah.
want to be left alone. So I think that, prioritizing ourselves, being able to say no, being able to set healthy boundaries, as you said, being able to care for ourselves, it's the first part of that balancing act. Because a lot
Yeah.
of times we put ourselves at the end of it
Always.
instead of looking at it from a standpoint of putting ourselves first. And putting
Right.
yourself first, y'all, my allergies. So if you see me doing this, I'm sorry. Uh, it's so nasty, but it is. Look,
It
I
is.
keep it
It
real.
is what it
I'm like,
is,
I keep
honey.
doing this, and people, I'm trying to make sure, y'all, because my allergies are going crazy with this weather change. But I think again, we put ourselves at the end of it and we think, well, I have to put everyone else first. And then, most of the time we don't have anything left. But we're
Right.
no good for anyone else as mothers, as wives, as entrepreneurs, if we are not healthy and whole and healed
Yeah.
first.
Right.
That is what I think we have to learn. Instead of putting ourselves on the end of that spectrum of prioritization, we have to put ourselves at the beginning of it and making
Yep.
sure that we're well and we're healed and whole first. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, I think yes, I totally agree, and I think who was it? I saw a post. Someone posted something that I think her name. I'm not going to say it right.
Iyanla,
Ayanla.
Iyanla
Yes.
Vanzant.
Well, she said, and she said it perfectly. She said our cups must be full before we could pour into others, and
Listen,
period.
period.
Because if we don't have anything to give, how could we help? How could we be present? How could we be active? You
Yeah,
know?
it's impossible to pour from an empty cup. I think
No.
the first day of therapy, when I started therapy, my therapist looked at me and said, "It's impossible to pour from an empty cup." And I was like, "Let me go
Right,
ahead and
because
send me your money. We're done here." Because that was my biggest thing. Talking
right,
about this is one thing, but living it out is a different thing. Because as women, we're nurturers. We are
right,
wired that way. We are
yep,
wired to nurture and care for our families. And so
right,
to tell a woman to put herself first, it almost seems like blasphemy. What you mean?
hmm,
I gotta make sure my husband, I gotta make sure everybody's good. But
right,
nobody will be good, sis, if you're not. And I've
right,
seen that play out even in my own life. And I remember one time, in my relationship at that time, him pulling me to the side and saying, "Listen, I don't want the woman I love stroking out due to stress because of all the outside stuff. All
hmm.
that
The
we good.
outside influences.
Ain't
Yep,
that it?" He said, "We
hmm,
good. We ain't got no problems. But I don't want to lose you because of all of the outside stuff." He was like, "So I need you to get it
right.
together."
Because you know what it is that I feel like we're just ingrained that way. When people are going through things and they come to us, it's like we take that all in because, we're natural fixers.
Yeah,
So we always trying to fix everybody else's problems, and then we look
yeah,
around and be like, well, we got a problem now because
yeah,
my
yeah.
bricks are gone. I can't help you, build your house if I don't have any more bricks to give.
Yeah. And I think it's important to also say give yourself grace, right? Because again, like
Yes,
I said, it's one thing to talk about it, but to live it out is listen,
totally
I'm
different.
still working on this. I have not mastered this. And I always say any topic I talk about, I'm never coming from a place of perfection, always a place of progression. Because I'm in
Right.
progress just like you, sis, just like you
Hmm.
do. Like I
Always.
am still trying to get it right.
Right.
So give yourself grace too. Let me say that, like, give yourself grace if you don't always get it right. If you have weeks, because I have weeks like that where I'm like, dang, I haven't even had a moment to sit down. I haven't done anything that I enjoy this week, So it takes time to reprogram yourself from being just this person who gives to, taking care of yourself. I love the
Right.
comments that are coming in. Everything ain't important. For sure, for sure. And also self-care is daily. Right. I
Yes.
will say that brings up a great point, Coach Jazz. For myself, I told a friend that I'm literally working on making self-care a lifestyle, not a once in a while occurrence, not just on the
Right.
weekends, not just when
Right.
I have time. I want self-care to be an occurrence. I mean, a lifestyle to where every day in some shape, form, or fashion, I'm experiencing self-care. And again,
Absolutely.
it doesn't have to be super difficult, right? It just can be, what do you enjoy? Sometimes it's crab legs for me because I love crab legs,
Yeah, I love crab legs too.
you know?
I mean, for me, it's like usually like I try to make that my daily routine. So I wake up, like sometimes I sacrifice my sleep in the morning just to have some me time. I wake up, everyone's asleep in the house. I make myself a cup of coffee and I'll sit. I'll browse through Instagram, I'll check my emails, I'll catch up on a show, I'll look at Netflix, but that's self-care for me.
That's good.
Nobody's asking me for food. Nobody's yelling my name. Nobody's calling mommy. It's just me, my coffee, and usually the internet.
I love it. And I kind of made that face when you said that because I'm so guilty of that when you said sacrificing your sleep. Because, girl, for the last month, I've had an alarm on my phone to get up before I need to get up, right? So I can just, get myself together. Because I'm going to be honest, self care for me is also making myself up, baby. Because when I look good, I feel good.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yes,
But when I
yes,
don't get
yes.
up in enough time, it's like it's gonna be what it's gonna be, right? And so for the past month, I've had an alarm in my phone to get up super early, to do my devotions, to get myself together. I love tea, make me some tea, and just be like you said, not having to think about anything or doing
Yeah.
something or starting to check off my to-do list, right?
Hmm.
But for the past month, baby, when I hear 6 o'clock, that 6 o'clock alarm, it goes off every and I do not get up. So I'm
You
gonna try
snoozing
again.
it. You
I'm gonna
snoozing
have
it this
grace with
month.
myself,
That's
okay?
right.
And
That's
I'm gonna try
okay.
again because I think it's important. Like you said, you gotta get it in where you fit in. Like you
Right.
may can't go out, you may can't be out the house. We definitely are still in a pandemic, so you gotta find ways to make sure you're whole. Find ways to care for yourself.
Absolutely.
I love that. So, moving from that and balancing the act of motherhood, talk a little bit about mommy guilt. I saw a post the other day, and this lady, I think she was being a little funny, but it was like laughing but very serious. And she was
Yeah.
like, I think that mommy guilt is almost like a mental illness. She was like, because I know I need a break from my kids. I know that I have to get things done. She's like, but when I'm away from them, I'm either crying or sad that they're not with me or thinking like, dang, like I wish I had brought them with me, or I'm calling them. I can't even enjoy my time or what I'm doing or focus on it because I'm so worried about my children. But I know that I set this time aside because I needed time away. She was like, it's insanity.
Yeah.
And one of my friends reposted it and she was like, yeah, I really do think something is wrong. She was like, because I literally feel horrible anytime I have to leave my child. She was like, but I know I be needing to leave my child sometimes.
Right.
And I
Right.
told her, I'm like, you have a toddler? I said, but it never gets any better. I have a
Mm-mm.
teenager. And
Mm-hmm.
I
Different
literally I went
stages.
out, yes, I went out for a
Mm-hmm.
girls trip a few weeks ago and I literally made myself detach. But when I was dropping her off for school that morning, I almost cried because I knew I wasn't gonna be able to pick her up. And I'm like, girl, you need this girl trip for your mental health because I was really struggling. But
Yeah.
it was like the thought of not picking her up. I was like, I just should stay, Talk about that.
So I had mommy guilt with my firstborn.
Uh-huh.
Because oh, where'd you go? Angela, where you at, girl?
Girl, you
Oh,
good. I was
there
getting
you
this face.
go.
You good. I was getting this face together. I was giving you a spotlight. I was trying to get this face together. You fine.
Oh, I'm like, wait, what happened? Sorry, this is my first time doing this like this. So, with my firstborn, I had mommy guilt. I really did because I had to when he was like 3 months old, I had to have someone else take care of him. So I felt that a lot then. Like I cried and I had my moments where I'm about to leave my son and I had to
Mhm.
because I had to work. I was a single mom, at that time. But with my daughter, it's a little bit different. I have it sometimes, but not really because my husband stays with her during the day and I go to work. So we kind of like we have shifts
Make it work. Yeah.
and we make it work. So I'm, we switch off in the evenings and on the weekends I have her. So, but it's good. When I'm at work, I'm working. I'm not worried. So I don't really feel that bad. I don't know if that's good to say or not.
No, I mean I think it's good to be honest because everybody doesn't have mommy guilt. But like you
Right.
said, you were able, but I think it also speaks to like your evolution, right? Because your firstborn is different. And then your secondborn, having your husband there, it like, shifts a little bit. And then maybe you just,
Yes.
get a little better at mommyhood too. Like I
Yes,
know that
definitely.
over the years I've evolved as a mother. So I think that's just like a normal progression. But
Hmm.
everyone isn't in the same space. I think for me, I think my story's a little different too because I, had my daughter at 18. So
Okay.
I ain't had no mommy kid at 18. I was like, I was still in the club. I was still, I'm here as a kid. And like you
I
said, it
know
takes a
all about
village.
that.
It takes a village. So thankfully, I had, a great support system at that time to where I wasn't all there. They were able to kind of help me that first, year or two.
Couple of years.
But when the Lord saved me, thank you, Lord. And I got my life at the clubs. You know what I'm saying? I I would say from like probably 2, 3 to 8, I had no life. I had no
Yeah.
friends. I didn't go nowhere. And I think, like you said, maybe because I wasn't as present as I needed to be
Right.
in the beginning, I was like, well, wherever I go, she go. And I
Right.
literally didn't have a life. When she would go off for the weekends, I'd be at home and I would go to Redbox. It was my Friday routine. I'd
I
go to
remember
Redbox.
Redbox.
Listen, go to Redbox, give me a nice little, play some off brand play, a low budget film, and I would go to Taco Cabana and give me a Cabana bowl, and I go to
Mm,
Brahms and give me some
love
ice
the
cream, and that
tacos.
was my thing. That's all I did. I didn't go out. I didn't, take care of myself. I gained the most weight I had ever gained, and now that I look back at it, I was definitely depressed because
Right.
I had no life. I had my
Right.
identity was only a mother, and I
Right.
think that there's a danger in your identity only being like not
Correct.
knowing who you really are. And I
Correct.
didn't, and I just really allowed myself to just be consumed. And there's nothing wrong again with prioritizing your child. Please hear me. Please hear me. Okay. But
Absolutely.
again, you have to make sure you're good. And so when she got around 8 years old, I was like, oh, she don't need me. Like,
Right.
she's
They become a
forgiving
little
me.
bit more independent,
Yeah.
and that's when you kind of have to like flip the switch a little bit
That
because
was
I totally
hard.
understand that because prioritizing your children, that's a definite. We
Yeah,
always
it's a
want to
requirement.
prioritize our
Yeah.
children. But sometimes we have to just kind of like detach just a bit.
Yeah.
I say that about my husband. Well, I'm going to say that about my husband because I think my husband has daddy guilt
Wow. That's good
because
though. Talk about it.
because he never wants to leave her. Every time he leaves her, if he has to go to work, he I know he always feels sad, but it's because it's his first child. It's his
Mhm.
daughter, and he has daddy guilt. I tell him that all the
Yeah.
time. You
Yeah.
got it.
That's interesting. I think with that shift for me when she turned 8, that shift, that mommy guilt, the way it hit me because I started like dating again and
Mm-hmm.
just all the things I hadn't done since she was like probably before she was born. And then shifting, it was rough. I used to feel so bad. And
Yeah.
her and I really had like, some rough patches in there too because she was so used to me being there. And when I
Mm-hmm.
started doing more for myself, it was like you don't let me know because she was spoiled. But we're working through it. And I think now that she's a teenager, of course, all she want to do is go with her friends. And we have our time. She goes with her friends, and I have my time. So we
Mm-hmm.
see her now. But I want women to know that you're not alone in that, and men, because like you said, daddy guilt. And see, I can only talk about my experience, but I'm glad that you brought that up because the men that are watching, if you feel that like that's a real thing, and I want you to know that you're not
It
alone in
definitely
that.
is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just with everything going on in the world too, I can understand because I'm overprotective. Okay, I ain't gonna lie. I can understand being, wanting to be with your children at all times. 'Cause it's a lot going on in the world, so
That's
it's
correct.
hard to know who you can trust. You can't trust
Yep.
really nobody. Okay,
Yep.
with your kids, I wouldn't recommend it. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
um, so I understand, and I don't want you to think something is wrong with you or it's a mental illness. I think it's love.
Yeah. And it's
Love.
protection.
Yeah.
Because especially you know, when you become a mom, I think that it's that mommy instinct. It's kind of like that cub. That's your baby cub, and you
Yeah.
protect your baby cub at all costs.
All cost. I mean, because I fights for mine. I love the Lord, but
Oh,
I will
yeah.
I will box, I will square up for mine. You feel me?
You already know I'm the same way. And
And I'm
my
getting
son is
myself back together.
16, and he thinks that I'm crazy. But when things are going on, like it's a different worry, right? We both have teenagers, so now
Yeah.
it's a different kind of worry. So whenever he comes home with, I'm like, all right, who I gotta talk to, who I gotta
Call them.
see,
Call them.
call him right now, because we gonna get to the bottom of this right now.
Right now. Yes, Keishana, mommy guilt is real, but you are not,
Yes.
we are not alone. And I think the just learning how I think Coach Jazz said it earlier about boundaries, learning how to spend that time with your child and then learning how to, even if it's like 5 minutes a day, like you said, or just waking up before everyone else,
Yes.
creating a space for yourself as a mother. And then, and I have friends that they don't like going out. They just want to be with their families. And I respect that. I,
Yeah.
I totally respect that because I feel like the day will come when they're able to shift and spend more time with themselves.
Right.
So I think it depends on the stage you're in as well.
Right.
Because when my child was younger, there's not much you gonna get out of me. I'm a mama and this is what I'm doing. But just
Right.
learn how to shift and evolve. And
Right.
like I said, if it's 5 minutes, if it's 10 minutes, take that time for yourself so that you can be everything you need to be for your little one or your
Mm-hmm.
big one, your teenager, and your adult. Because some people, their children have left and they
Right.
still are like,
Absolutely.
so it's
Absolutely. One of my friends, her son is 25, and she
mhm.
has she has a 25-year-old, she has a 19-year-old. She's about to be an empty nester, but she's still very, very much involved in her children's life.
That's good. Coach Jazz says, I've been intentional about spending more time with my daughter lately, so I don't feel the mommy guilt as much as I feel it when I don't spend time with her. But send her away so I can have a break. Exactly. I think that's super important that you said that because I totally agree. I feel like the more time in some cases, the more time you spend with your kids, it does help with that a little bit. But I know some people, it doesn't matter. They spend time with their kids. Or I know someone, they
Hmm.
spend time with their kids 24/7 and
And
they
it don't
prefer it
bother
that
them
way.
none.
They
Yep.
prefer it that way. And like I said, a day will come when their children, I'm sure, will get older that they'll be like, okay, well, they don't need me as much anymore. I get it. So again, I want you to know, mommy guilt, daddy guilt, you're not alone. You're not crazy. Okay. Don't let nobody tell you crazy. You just love and you want to protect your children. And again,
Yeah.
life, when kids are young, that time flies by. So I get wanting to
So
spend
quickly.
as much time as you want to with your children. So no judgment on our parts. We just want to make sure that you are being and doing well. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Okay.
Right.
All right. Moving on. Rediscovery as a mother. Again, you are the host of Notorious Moms, the podcast. And so that's why we're kind of gearing this conversation to moms. No slight to the men. We love y'all. I
Yes.
know some amazing fathers. My brother is one of them. But rediscovery as a woman, because we were talking about that mommy guilt, is something that I'm currently experiencing. And it's Tanya, let me tell you something. It's a lot. And
Indeed.
I want to talk about that because again, for many of us you can be lost in being a mom. But I have learned here lately that I have been lost in my purpose. I have
Hmm.
lost my identity and my purpose. And
Hmm.
people may hear that and be like, "What? How is that possible?" But it's possible. I didn't know it
Very
until it happened
possible.
to me. Okay, because you can give so much of yourself over to that thing that you literally, the work that you do with that, the accolades that come with it, the platform, it literally becomes who you are.
Yeah.
And so when you are in a valley of decisions, like I am now about certain things, it's like, oh, it's impossible. I can't. There's no way I could ever stop doing this. There's no way I could ever. But it's because it's like, who would I be without that? If
Right.
I quit this job, who would I be without that? If
Right.
I move to a different city, who will I be without these things? And so talk about that rediscovery as a woman, as just a being, right? Outside of our roles as moms, as parents, as entrepreneurs, rediscovering the core of who you are.
So, I'm like on the fence with that so much because I think about that daily. When I am just like doing my podcast stuff and going through my emails and checking things and kind of like dotting my I's and crossing my T's. And sometimes I'm just like, okay, I know this is what I'm supposed to do. I know that this is the plan, right? Because I've always loved to entertain. Like I sing and I like to dabble in acting because I feel like I'm a good actor. My husband says otherwise,
Come
but
on.
whatever. But I could do some stuff. So, when this whole thing came about, I'm like, this is what I need to do. This is what has been set forth. Um, and it's just like I kind of just got lost in the purpose as well. Because you want, when you have a purpose and when you have a goal, you want it to flourish. And it's like it's ever evolving. Every day is different. You're progressing. And then sometimes things may fall, but you gotta kind of like it's
Yeah.
totally a balancing act.
Yeah. I've also learned in my journey, right, that some things, and this is what my therapist kind of brought to me, and I knew this, but she reminded me that some things are assignments. Some jobs, some people, places, things, you are assigned to that thing for a certain amount of time, for a certain season. And then once that season is up, it's
There
up.
you go.
And just
Over.
like how seasons are changing in the natural, right? Fall is upon us. I woke up this morning, I'm like, wait a
Hmm.
minute, what's going on? You know, I had no control over it. I didn't
Right.
see it coming. I wasn't able to plan for it. Such is life. And sometimes it just, you have to literally surrender to that and
Hmm.
be open to rediscovering where you are now. It's funny that everything I do is called ever evolving, yet I still struggle with change and finding out who I am now.
Right.
Finding out who I am after 2 years of podcasting, finding out who I am. Like for the last 3 years, I've given so much of myself over to
Hmm.
this platform, over to Ever Evolving Women, over to the events, everything that I've done. 3 years, I've gone hard. I'm talking about no sleepless nights, late nights, early mornings, sacrificing in relationships and motherhood, just my health, a lot of things for the sake of the platform, for the sake of the purpose.
Right.
And I've come to learn that, some things I just don't enjoy anymore. There are some things
Mm.
that are not fun anymore. They don't bring me joy anymore. And it's scary. It's scary to like
Right.
come to that realization and then admit that. It's even more scary to accept it. Because you can
Right.
know something and not accept it.
Right.
And so I'm in this phase of rediscovery as a woman, not based on what I can do, not based on motherhood, not based on anyone else but me. Who is
As a
Angela?
person.
Yes.
Hmm.
Who
Just
is
as a
Angela?
Plain old person.
What does she like now? What does she
Hmm.
enjoy now? What does she want to do? Where does she want to go? I'm
Yeah,
having to
yeah.
ask and answer those questions for myself. And you would think, because I'm me, right? You would think that that would be easy. But when you lose your identity in motherhood, parenthood, your purpose, you find yourself not being able to answer simple questions like, "What do I like? What I like to do? Where do I want to go? I don't know." That's scary.
Hmm. It's very scary. I had that same conversation with my sister. Um, and I asked her that very same question. Because she was going through a rough patch in her life. And I'm like, okay, so what do you like to do?
Right.
What brings you happiness?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not the kids, like what? And she honestly, she really couldn't answer that for me. And I think sometimes we have to sit back and kind of ask ourselves those same questions. Like, what is it that we, me, you, everyone else, like as an individual,
Mm-hmm.
what
Yeah.
do you want? What do you like? What makes you happy?
Yeah. And I'm learning, you kind of said it there. I'm learning like that most of the time means you're going to have to pull back so that you
Hmm.
can clearly see, hear, and get it. Like
Yes.
when you're still engulfed in the thing that you really need to let go of. And I don't know why I'm preaching to myself, but I hear you. Okay. But when you, girl, I felt like, wait a minute, I felt a shift there. When you really, it's hard to really let go of something that you fully invested and engulfed in. Like, look at the
Hmm.
relationships, right? We all have been in toxic relationships. It's hard to let
Hmm.
go of or redefine who you really are aside from that relationship when you still
Yes.
in it. It is when you break
Yes.
up and you go
That's
through the
correct.
process of the heartbreak, come
Hmm.
on, that you be like, oh, now I see. That was manipulative. Now I see that's not really what
Right.
I like. I don't really like tacos on Tuesday. I like this on Tuesdays. Like it's when you
Exactly.
are outside of the relationship and you have broken off from that thing that you usually can see more clearly. And
Because
that's
it's
where
it's
I'm
it's
at.
like an onion. You start peeling back the layers, and then you get to the middle, and you're like, all
Mm,
right, well, now it's time to look at myself, because I can't peel back no more. This is
Jesus.
what we got,
But this thing
and you
hitting
have
me
to
hard
really take
tonight.
yourself.
Woo!
You have to just take a step back, because like you
Take
said,
a step
when you're in the thick of things, you never can see what other
back.
people see.
Yeah. So I've been planning some trips, some getaways, a retreat, just not like nothing special, but just for myself, so that with my journal, so I can really rediscover who Angela is. What does Angela
Yes.
enjoy? What does she like? Not what people tell you, not what you do for your significant other, not what you do for your
Hmm.
children. A lot of time we feel like we like things because we have done it so long for other people, so it just becomes
Right.
our norm. But I'm looking forward to finding out who she is. This
Hmm.
this girl right here. Even with my hair, it's funny because people was like on social media, like, "Girl, you got hair. We didn't know you had hair," because I'm always wearing weave. Right? People think you bald headed when you wear weave. Okay. But I was telling somebody like I really don't like weave. I wear it because it's convenient. I wear it because you like how you look. You know what I'm saying? And I love
Right, because it
color.
looks
I like
good.
coloring. Yeah, and I don't like coloring my hair. But I love a more natural look. I really
Right.
always have. But I was in a relationship years ago and he loved the glam. He wanted me to fade up
Mm.
20. I didn't wear lashes before I met him. I didn't really wear just if I wore makeup at all. I didn't wear makeup for years. But he liked it. And so he liked it. I loved it. And so I started doing it and I've never stopped. Now it's like I go outside, I gotta get my lashes on. I used to talk about people who wore lashes because I was like, and now here I am. It's my I gotta put my lashes on. And so I had as I'm going through this process of rediscovery, hey Yoli, I was like, I really don't like all of the I don't have to have that. I'm beautiful without that. And again, I'm not,
Hmm.
knocking anybody who do it. I'm still gonna wear a good wig here and there, huh?
Yes,
And get it.
absolutely.
But for the most part, I'm like, I just love. just, you know? And so it's interesting what you find out or what you rediscover when you step out of things and when you just kind of go through that process. And like you said, you talk about an onion, peeling back those layers. Sometimes it's gonna get stinky. You ain't gonna like what you see. You ain't gonna like what you find out. It's
It's
gonna be
very
hard.
uncomfortable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very uncomfortable. But
very
if you
uncomfortable.
get back to the core of who you are, it'll be so freaking worth it. I believe that. So
Mhm.
I'm excited to see who I am now. And then, I'll be probably back here in another year because we're ever
Right.
evolving. We should be. If you're not growing, you just existing. So what are we doing?
Yep, I say that all the time. Growth is important. No matter, you have to just go like in the right direction.
It's necessary. It's important and it's necessary. Like anything that isn't growing is usually what?
Dying.
Right.
It's
So if
dead.
I'm here, that means I got some things I got to do. He got me here for a reason. So let's go. What are we doing? And
hmm
so, yeah, this rediscovery, I think it's important for those who are watching to understand. It's important if you're feeling that shift, because I started feeling it before I started to go through it. I started feeling like something different. I don't like this no more. Y'all getting on my nerves. I don't want to be here no more. Transition.
Right.
When you in transition, everything get on your nerves. It's like y'all getting on my
That's a
nerves.
fact.
Why y'all talking so
hmm
loud? I don't like you no more. You not as cute as I thought you were. Like I started feeling that thing.
Yes.
So if you feeling a little uncomfortable in the space that you're in, and you've been there for a little while, and something don't feel right,
Time to
it's
go.
probably a great indicator that it's time for you to rediscover something. You has
hmm
shifted and changed, and it's time for you to tap into the process of rediscovering who you are.
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
With that being said, take us on out of here with words of advice for those mommies. Again, your podcast is geared towards moms, so let
Yes.
us know something sweet, something kind to send us all off tonight.
So I would just say, give yourself grace. We are our worst critics. Don't be so critical of yourself. If it doesn't work out, try it again. It's going to be all right. The world is not going to end if you make a mistake. We all make mistakes as people, as humans, as mothers, fathers. Just got to give yourself grace and
Yeah,
dust yourself off and try it again.
yeah, and love yourself, especially as
Most
mommies.
important.
The same love that you give everybody else, the same energy that you pour into everyone else with. I want you to know you deserve that same love. You
hmm
deserve that same energy, sis. Bruh.
Yes.
You deserve
Yes.
bruh, you deserve that same energy. And that's something I'm still learning. And so again, I'm sharing with you while I'm working through my stuff. I'm sharing it with y'all because I love y'all just that much. All right, Tanya, this has been amazing. Thank you for joining me for
Yes.
episode
Thank you
6.
so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. I love this conversation. Listen, you helped me tonight. This is
I'm
season 5,
glad.
episode 6. Let the people know how they can stay in contact with you and the Notorious Mom podcast.
So I'm on Instagram, Notorious Moms the Podcast. I have a website, notoriousmomsthepodcast.com. You can reach out to me at my Gmail, notoriousmzpodcast@gmail.com. And I'm on Facebook, the same thing, Notorious Moms the Podcast. That's where
Awesome,
I'm at.
awesome. I just love you. You're so sweet. Okay, so thank you so much. I am y'all. This is the last episode. Thank you, Tanya. This is the last episode of the month. I don't know when the next episode is coming. Usually I do 2 episodes a week, but I'm kind of scaling back next month because I have some collaborations coming up, some trips planned, and the holidays. So you won't see much of me as much as you did this month. But stay tuned. Make sure you are following the Instagram and Facebook pages, and make sure you are subscribed on YouTube. So if I'm collaborating or if I'm live, you get all of those notifications. All right. Love y'all. Have a good night.
Like, subscribe, and follow the Ever Evolving Podcast on all social media platforms.